everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Sunday. Well, it's technically Sunday, but it's Monday, November 27th for the podcast purposes. It's 2023. We have 5 NBA games to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. 5 games, easing us back in the NBA. I'll tell you one thing. I looked at the schedule for this week. There's no 14-game slates. That's already a win. The slates are really spread out. That's already a win. And this slate for a 5-game slate is a banger. So, Will, what's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, man. I'm doing well. And Stevie, I just want to, I'm just going to hop on that same train with you right now because I think sometimes you just need to know, like, what does it take for you to win? And Stevie, like 14-game slates, I hate them. But man, Stevie, when we're getting 5 to 8, that's like my wheelhouse for NBA in terms of, how I see it, how I approach it. And really, it's really all about the player pool too, Stevie, because you got to think about it. On a 14-game slate, you're just not going to play everybody. And somebody that you just didn't like that day is going to go off for 50 fantasy points out of nowhere. But on some of the smaller slates, 5 to 8 games, it's a little bit more condensed in terms of the player pool. You have a better feel of probably the games. And like you said, this 5-game slate right here, this is certainly a banger of a slate for 5 games. So I got tons of ways we can go and ideas and thoughts. So this should be a good little slate for us.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think this is a fun slate, and I am like a 7 to 10 game person. Like, that is the sweet spot for NBA, and I've been saying this for years. So I'm right with you. A 5-game slate, when it's this good, I'm perfectly fine with it because there's so many ways to build on this slate. So only 2 teams on back-to-backs. A lot to talk about. We'll get through it here in just a second. What's up, YouTube? Hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend here on Sunday night. And let's jump in, have some fun. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. We get started with Portland at Indiana. 241.5 total in this game. The Pacers an 11-point favorite. Portland is on the second end of a back-to-back, so we do not have their injury report. Neesmith, questionable for Indiana, is all we're looking at here. Portland's starting to get healthy, but we'll see how they handle the back-to-back with some of these guys that have been missing some time. What do you like here for Portland?
So one of the things I like for Portland is Malcolm Brogdon is back, which should help this team be a little bit more competitive, Stevie, like slate in and slate out. So it kind of makes me trust their team overall a lot more. Scoot Henderson is also back, so that gives them a little bit more depth. Obviously Sharp's been playing minutes. They've been playing a fair amount of guys, but Stevie, one guy that I've actually liked from Portland in certain spots is DeAndre Ayton. He's been a guy that's had some nice fantasy performances along the way. He's 6,900. This is a spot that I think we like just in terms of fantasy production. So him sitting here at 6,900 feels like a good tournament option today at a spot where some points should be scored on both sides.
Yeah, I had Ayton written down. He's certainly one of my favorite plays on this slate. So I think this is a great spot for him. The Pacers are allowing a ton of fantasy points to opposing centers. I think they allow, like the second most fantasy or second most actual points per game. So you might want to jump on like the point rebound projections or props, depending on like what state you're living in. So really like this spot for Ayton. I'm with you on him. I'm worried a little bit about Brogdon. He did play 34 minutes on Sunday against Milwaukee. Do they sit him here? Are they've been very careful with his minutes. He did play a back-to-back recently, so maybe he plays, but he was on a minutes restriction for those games. So we'll see. If Brogdon's out, it makes a huge difference here. If Brogdon plays, I'm with you. I like him a lot. If Brogdon sits, though, I really like Scoot Henderson at 5,400 in this game. I think that he's another guy that should continue to see his minutes kind of increase here. And, you hope he plays in this second end of a back-to-back. But I think this is a great spot for Portland. We know how fast the Pacers tend to play pace-wise, and we know that the Pacers are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. So, yeah, great spot. Portland, huge pace bump spot for them because they're like, 25th in pace, I think, in the NBA. So they're getting a huge upgrade in pace here.
Absolutely.
And this game's in Indiana, so Indiana is going to try to push the pace at home. Let's talk Pacers here. Nesmith questionable. He matters a little bit with him being out recently. Obi Toppin's minutes have been a little bit more secure. But, yeah, I don't think it matters enough where we're going to be making it, determine our slate or not. What do you like here for the Pacers?
Yeah, I think I like a fair amount of spots, and obviously it's going to start with Halliburton. He's 11K. He's earned this price tag, Stevie. I mean, he's been phenomenal. I mean, we've seen this guy put up 60, 70-point performances, and I'm not saying that he's absolutely going to hit that tonight, but he's hitting it in a variety of ways, and a lot of it is through assists and points. He's been scoring, 30 points, 10 to 15 assists. This has been amazing to watch and just to watch some of these games. So I like him a great deal. Another guy that his minutes have picked up, but see now the price is up, and that's Buddy Hield. Like Buddy Hield's minutes came up, Stevie, but now the price is at 6,400. I don't feel as good about good about the price, but I do still like Benedict Mathurin here at 5,100. His price is starting to come down because his minutes are more in the mid 20s or upper or lower mid 20s, but I don't hate it for the price. Bruce Brown is playing plenty of minutes, but I don't feel like he's a must play here. I don't hate it in a game stack, but just generally speaking, I'm not thrilled about it. But Miles Turner would be kind of the next man up behind Hallie if he was playing more minutes, and I know he'll get some big performances, Stevie, but with him playing minutes in the 20s for that price, I don't want to play him either. So it's mainly Halliburton, probably a sprinkle of Benedict Mathurin, and maybe a little Bruce Brown in game stacks.
Yeah, I could get behind all that. I will say, like, Buddy Hield has correlated really well with Halliburton. Halliburton getting Buddy Hield some open looks, and they're obviously working a lot better together here recently, and we've seen the points and just shot attempts and everything kind of go towards Buddy Hield's favor. I think it continues in this game. He's a guy that I really have on my list as like seeing what his point prop opens up at. I might not play him in DFS because his price has kind of risen a little bit, but I mean, the spot is a good spot. This is a really good spot. All right, LA at Philadelphia, 231.5 total in this game. Philly, a 4.5-point favorite. Hachimura, Vanderbilt, Vincent out. LeBron and Reddish questionable. House and Oubre questionable, or House questionable, Oubre out for Philly. Let's start here with the Lakers. What do you like here for LA?
Well, let's kind of start with Austin Reeves, who, has this kind of interesting role with the team, Stevie. Still playing, played 30 minutes or 30 plus minutes in the past couple of games, but it's really kind of just been doing it all, not taking as many shots as I would like to see, or maybe he's taken, over the course of the season, but is still putting up some nice performances here. So I don't hate him in this spot against Philly. LeBron, as much as they want to limit his minutes, Stevie, he's still playing about 35 minutes a game on average. So I don't have any problem rolling LeBron out against Philly in what should be a competitive game. And then kind of the same thing with Anthony Davis, who him and LeBron just keep the questionable tag all year, Stevie. But if you just kind of play them every night, they keep performing. But because they're Anthony Davis and LeBron, I feel like we're kind of missing out on these performances, Stevie. Like just the other night, they played Cleveland. And in your mind, you're like, don't want to take him. I mean, AD put up 61 fantasy points, 36, 56, 49, 51, 25, 52, 62. I mean, that's the experiment. I mean, he had another stretch. We had 3 games of 60 or more. I don't want to overlook the upside because their names are Anthony Davis and LeBron. This should be a competitive game. I like them a ton. D'Angelo Russell's actually been fine this season. The fantasy production has kind of come down the past couple of games, but we've seen him put up some mid-high 30s, performances. I don't hate him in this spot either.
Yeah, I want to see if Reddish plays, because if Reddish sits again, I think Christie at 3,900, just continues to
Yep.
play 30 plus minutes. Not a huge fantasy point per minute producer, but a good competitive game where he could go over like 20 fantasy points. I don't hate that. Prince should play a bunch of minutes in this game if Reddish sits with Hachimura out. He's not a huge fantasy point per minute producer, but he's going to get a ton of run in this game. And then I love the Reeves call. Him and Russell are kind of in this price range where, like, if I end up on one of these guys, I'm not going to hate it. And I think they both have a little bit of upside at these prices. Philly side of this game, good old Lakers. Good old Lakers defense. I will say the Lakers defense has been better this year. They're top 10 in defense this year, defensive rating. What do you like here for Philadelphia?
So with Philly, man, and I've talked about this before. Now, he is priced a lot closer to where he will be or should be, but Tobias Harris was a guy I was playing, but like I said, he's priced up now. Maxi's 9,200. Stevie, he's also another guy that has earned this $9,200 price tag. I mean, points galore. When he's hitting 30 points, Stevie, I mean, we're seeing some really, really nice performances. He's already got a 50 burger this season already. This is absolutely a spot where I think, he could get off. DeAnthony Melton is now priced up. He's 6K, Stevie. I think that's a little bit too high. I mean, we need to get him back down in that, 5,500 range for me to consider playing him. Not that he hasn't put up some performances, but I think we're just getting too close to his ceiling price rather than his value price. Nick Batum is a guy that's getting minutes, but I can't play him. I really think it's just Maxey and Embiid. I wish we could play Robert Covington, Stevie. Like I wish he was getting 30 minutes a game, but he's just not playing enough minutes, I think, to hit what we need him to hit for the price.
Hey, get some of these guys that we've made money off of over the years in the roles that they are in, and like you're like, oh, I want to play Covington because he made me money 6 years ago.
I wish.
So yeah, I mean, for me on Philadelphia, I think Embiid has a huge ceiling in this game. Maxey's price is still tough for me. Like he has that 70 plus point ceiling, so like I get it. I really don't love Philly in this game. I don't. Like, it's a 231.5 total. Philly has one of the highest implied team totals on slate, and it's tough for me. I think it'd be Embiid. I mean, but an Embiid LeBron or an Embiid Davis combo is expensive.
It is.
I mean, my problem, Will, is first of all, I love the Portland Indiana game. And I love our next game. We got Washington at Detroit, 234.5 total in this game. Detroit, a 3-point favorite. Jordan Poole questionable. That's huge. Right out. On the Detroit side, Bogdanovich, Harris, and Morris out. Let's start here with Washington. I mean, you have to love this game because it's two of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. So first of all, you love that aspect of this game. Washington plays extremely fast. They're playing at the second fastest pace in the NBA, and Detroit plays 11th. So, I mean, this game's going to be fast-paced with little defense, and it just seems like it's going to be a really high-scoring affair. Let's start with Washington. What do you like here for the Wizards?
Yeah, so what I like, Stevie, first of all, is everybody's priced, well, mostly reasonably, right? And so we got, like you talked about, the Lakers-Philly game where all the big guys are 9K plus, maybe outside of Austin Reeves, who's got 40-point upside. This could be a good spot for fantasy points for them. I see we got, Steven Smith in the chat, and that's Yappy Cappy. Hey, Yappy, saying hopefully Poole is listed in or out before lock. So, Stevie, I ended up with a fairly good weekend in NBA from Saturday because I didn't play Jordan Poole in single entry. I leaned a little bit more heavy to Atlanta and the New Orleans-Utah game. Jordan Poole was like 50% in tournaments and got ruled out after lock, Stevie. Just painful because I've been there before. My point is Jordan Poole's now, he's still showing questionable. So hopefully, like you said, we get that news. But if he plays, I think he's definitely a guy you want to play. If he's out, Corey Kispert still going to be getting minutes. I don't hate playing him. Denny at 6,100, even though he didn't get to 30 minutes, it ended up just kind of being a blowout. I would expect him to get a lot closer to 30 minutes in this spot. I don't hate him at 6,100, and I'd absolutely have interest in Kuzma as well. I don't hate Daniel Gafford at 5,700 on this slate. He's been playing around 30 minutes, Stevie. So it's not like, he's Daniel Gafford playing 20, 21 minutes. Those extra 8-9 minutes make a big difference in his fantasy output. And so in this spot, at 5,700, I think for tournaments, man, it's a great play.
Yeah, I really like Kuzma. I want Poole to play in this game just because I think the game has a better potential to stay close to Jordan Poole plays. He's been shooting a lot more recently too. I agree. I hope he is listed in or out before lock. I think we'll get more news. And I read the report that said that he felt soreness in warmups, but warmups happen way before lock. I mean, if anyone has ever been to a pro NBA game, it's ridiculous. So yeah, if Poole sits, I would have interest in Tyus Jones in this spot if Poole sits. Like, this is a spot Tyus Jones could have a big game. Like, this is a fantastic matchup, fast-paced game. I really like this spot for Gafford, Poole in or out. I think Gafford's very playable in this spot, so I really like him. It's just one of those games. I think there's a lot of upside overall. So I think, we're going to be looking at a lot of pieces in this game, and we just have to look past that Atlanta game last time out. It was a massive blowout, and just not a ton of run from anybody.
Yeah, Atlanta was pretty much full strength, and they had Poole out, they had Gallinari out. It got away from them quickly.
Yep. Detroit side of this game, love Detroit. I mean, I think this is a phenomenal spot for Cunningham, Duren, Thompson, Stewart, anybody else you want to bring up. They're all fantastic. I love Cade Cunningham at 8,300. He's definitely going to be in my single entry lineup today. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for me, man. Cade at 83. He's priced a little bit above like where his averages are, but you got to understand, man, when he gets in some of these faster paced, bigger games, he's going to have a shot. Like, he popped off against Milwaukee. Guess what, folks? Milwaukee is not a great defensive team. Portland. So, I love this spot for him. I don't hate Alec Burks, Stevie. Now that we've got Burks back down to 4,500, now look, didn't play the minutes in the Indiana game, didn't play the minutes in the Denver game. Maybe they're cutting the minutes back now that they're kind of getting some of these guys back, and Sasser's playing, Killian Hayes is playing. Like, they've got some guards playing, so maybe that's the case. I don't mind rolling him out in large field tournaments just to kind of see, because if he gets 22, 23 minutes, this could be a spot for 30 fantasy points for him as well. So just kind of want to point that out. I know, Kevin Knox is still playing about 25 minutes a game. I don't hate him in this spot just for slight salary relief in tournaments, not a crazy high fantasy point per minute play, but just someone else that you could get, some light exposure to this game, just kind of for a weird situation if it swings our way. And then Jalen Duren, man, Indiana game, 29 minutes, 39 fantasy points. We can't say enough good things about what he's been able to do from a fantasy perspective. If you had to limit it to two guys, man, it's got to be Cade and Duren for me in this game from Indiana. Detroit. Sorry.
Yeah, don't sleep on Jaden Ivey too. His minutes continue to get increased. This is a guy that dealt some injuries to start the season, so I think I would definitely play Ivy over like an Alec Burks. His minutes have definitely dipped with Ivy playing more and more. So is Killian Hayes. So I think really for me, it's Cunningham, it's Duren, it's Ivy. Those would be my three main pieces here for Detroit. Fast-paced game, little defense. Attack those three guys. New Orleans at Utah. 230.5 total here. New Orleans a 3.5-point favorite. McCollum, Murphy, Ryan out for New Orleans. Clarkson and Marketing questionable for Utah. So this is a game we're really going to have to pay attention to the injury news because it makes a huge difference whether or not Clarkson and Marketing play or not. Let's start with New Orleans first here. McCollum's still out, but we should get Ingram, and Zion was a rest day, so he'll be back here We've seen his minutes increase quietly. Zion's minutes over the last 2 games, 35 and 34. They sat him down for a rest day. If Zion's going to play 35 minutes a night, he has a huge ceiling, even at 8,700. So I like Zion in this spot, and I really like Brandon Ingram if Zion wasn't playing. But I really like this spot for Zion. I wish Ingram was a little bit cheaper. Outside of that, though, it gets tough because like I think Dyson Daniels or Hawkins is like guys you could play and just kind of hope you get the right one right. I think it's Daniels. He has a more consistent role. I know Hawkins had a big game the other night, but Zion missed that game. Zion's going to be back here. So I think like value-wise, I'd be looking at Daniels, but I really like this spot for Zion.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for me. The only concern I have, Stevie, that's the weird thing about this game. Like with Zion back, if Clarkson and Markkanen sit in this game, I gotta think the Pelicans handle business here.
Yeah,
And
I think that's where you'd get more Daniels builds.
Yeah, and that's my only concern. But even still, Stevie, I mean, I think Zion could pop off in 30 minutes again in this spot if he's got little to no resistance at the rim. I don't feel great about Ingram at 9K. I can tell you that. Not that he can't get there, Stevie. Like we've seen him do it, but 9K, he's just. I just don't feel good about it. Even with McCollum out, I'd absolutely lean Zion here. And I'm with you on Dyson Daniels. Like I do think he's the better play over Hawkins here. And JV, Stevie, I'm just done with JV. He's like my new Aaron Gordon. I don't play him. He gets 50 points. I play him in the spot of all spots. One of the worst defensive teams in the league. Zion out, and he gets 21 fantasy points. Plays 20. I just can't. So JV's just. I'm fading JV the rest of the year.
For what it's worth, Clarkson was an illness. He was back at practice on Sunday. Markkanen's hamstring, he did not practice on Sunday. I think that Markkanen is very questionable, and I think that Clarkson plays. So that means that would be really interesting. I think the game stays competitive potentially still. I want Markkanen out there, but I think Clarkson, if Markkanen ends up sitting in this game, I think Clarkson at 7,400 becomes a great play in this spot. Outside of that, I mean, Utah's been really tough to figure out this season. Maybe I take some shots on like a Keontae George. Kessler came back and played 21 minutes the other night. He's cheap if he's going to get the minutes, but who knows if he's going to get the minutes. If Markkanen sits, I think it's like taking some shots on Clarkson if he plays, obviously, and probably Colin Sexton trying to get that second team like upside type of stuff. What do you like here on the Utah side?
Yeah, so if Clarkson plays, I'm in. If Clarkson and Markkanen play, I feel like I'm still okay with Clarkson just because we've seen his upside when he's played and got the big minutes. So I don't hate it. Clarkson's out. I'm absolutely going back to Colin Sexton. Now, the other night, Stevie, they did something weird where Chris Dunn got the start and what's that guy? Fontecchio got the start. Like it was just weird. THT played a handful of minutes. He didn't start. John Collins did start, obviously. So I'm just saying if Markkanen's out and then I'm sure Collins will start. They didn't start Walker Kessler. They started Yurt 7. It was just weird. So I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. So I think this is a spot for lineups. Like you just have to hope and pray that we get all the news before 7. And then that way you can at least plan accordingly. I will say if Markkanen is out, I do think I like Kessler here. I mean, even in 21 minutes, Stevie, 30 fantasy points the other night. Insane output from him, which is what we're accustomed to. Someone else that I think is viable if Markin is out. He played 25 minutes. He's been playing anyway. That's Kelly Olynyk. Like he would kind of be him and Kessler would kind of be my mainstay plays from this team if Markkinen's out.
Yeah, I mean Utah's so tough because they're so bad offensively. They're just a really bad offensive team. Waiting on the Markkanen news. If Markkanen sits, like I said, I really like Clarkson in this spot. Then it kind of gets really interesting because, like, even I'm looking at court IQ right in front of me, and like it's just like nothing is like jumping off the page here. Like when we take Lauri Markkanen by himself off the floor here, we don't have a large enough sample size really on anybody. I mean, the biggest person in usage bump is John Collins. The biggest person in like fantasy point per minute is Jordan Clarkson. So maybe those are the two guys we're looking at if Markkanen ends up sitting in this game.
Yep, absolutely.
Denver at LA taking on the Clippers. No total in this game because it is a back-to-back for Denver. We assume that Jamal Murray is not going to be back here, but I did read something that he's getting closer and closer. Aaron Gordon dealing with a heel injury. He ended up sitting on Sunday because of a heel injury, so we'll see. And then Plumlee remains out for the Clippers. What do you like here for Denver?
Jokic, more Jokic. Man, listen, Stevie, the game kind of got out of hand against Houston. And what I mean by that is Houston, beat Denver. Stevie, Denver scored 86 points in this game. Jokic had 81 fantasy points. 38, 19, and 8 in a blowout. Like, unbelievable. Like, he's 12-8, and you just have to play him. Like, and I'm not saying I'm saying if there's anybody you're going to play from Denver, it's him. Like, this game should be competitive. You probably need to play him, period.
Coming from somebody that took unders on his point, rebound, and assist everywhere in that Houston game, I was very tilted.
It was so crazy. Like, Steve, one of the most bizarre, I think, outputs in a blowout I've ever seen. Seriously.
Well, it was just like you got exactly what you expected, right? The Houston defense has been playing great. So you got like exactly what you expected in that game. And it's like, whatever. Like even on Sunday against the Spurs, like he went for 39, 11, and 9. He's just so good. And he's just doing so much right now. Yeah, so much. If Aaron Gordon sits and Jamal Murray's still out, you could take some shots on Reggie Jackson here for Denver. Like he saw a huge increase on Sunday, so you could take some shots on him. Minutes were still kind of spread out on the bench guys, so I really think like Jokic, Jackson, maybe some tournament exposure to Porter Jr. would be how I approach Denver in this game. Clippers side of this game, what do you like here for Denver?
Listen, Paul George has continued to feel like the most stable Los Angeles Clipper there is. So if I'm going to play anybody from this team, it's him. You've got James Harden, who, his minutes seem to have kind of increased in a way. If he plays 35 minutes, I think people are interested. I don't hate it. I just hate, man, Russell Westbrook is just buried now. Like, excuse me, so sorry. I hate the fact that he's not getting his 35 minutes a game, but hey, I am not the coach. Do you play Zubac? Probably not. Do you play Daniel Tice, Stevie? You might play a little bit of Tice in this spot at 3,800, especially if we feel like he's going to get 20 minutes. I think the minutes were cut short the other night because of the blowout. But I don't hate Tice at 3,800 in this spot, especially when they got to deal with some size between for Jokic and they may just be throwing bodies at him. I don't hate Tice here.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate that call. Norman Powell is my favorite. If you think this game's going to be competitive, we've talked a lot about his role and how he's been closing games. The game just against Dallas the other night wasn't close. so he didn't get that extra like 4 to 6 minute run. And he was dealing with a little bit of a groin injury. So the fact that they didn't have to have him out there definitely was the first guy off kind of situation. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think someone here, Paul George, if you're wanting to pay up. But I think Norman Powell on the cheap side is who I would look at in this spot. Oh, quickly through this one. See, when you have 5 games, it just flows. And you're not like, yeah. Anyway. All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we will get out of here. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. Who do you got?
Oh, man, Stevie. This one's slightly tough for me because I almost feel like I need someone to be out. I'm not thrilled about too many guys under 5K. I'm not going to take your guy. Give me Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly O. Who do you think my guy is?
Norman Powell.
No, so I like Powell. I don't think Powell's getting 7X. I think Powell is consistently in the 5 to 6X range, but I don't think he's getting 7X. I mean, I struggle with this question. I'm right there with you. There's nothing down here. Like, some injury news could potentially change like my thought process down here today, but I'm struggling with like the 7X type of question today just because I don't necessarily think it's anybody. I wrote down Max Christie here. So
that's the right call.
We'll go with that, but I mean, I don't feel great about it. Hachimura's out. Reddish is questionable still. Vincent's still out. Vanderbilt's out. So like they're out. They only played 8 guys the other night. And I noticed that in my research. So that is a huge bump to a guy like Christie, who's definitely saw an increase in role. I really want Cam Reddish to be out if I'm going to take shots on Max Christie, though. Yeah. Over 8K to go under 5X. Who's your bust today?
Give me Brandon Ingram at 9K.
Yeah. With your thought process there is Zion's coming back, right? Like that would be.
Yeah. It's definitely going to eat into him. Like his usage went up. I think when I looked at it Saturday with him and CJ off the floor, I think he got up to about 36%. And so, like, he's not going to be at 36% with Zion back. No way.
I'm going to go right at 8K and say Kawhi Leonard does not get 5X here.
I like it.
He could easily do it, though. I mean, this could be a really competitive game, and those are the types of games I feel like Kawhi's going to show up for him. Favorite 6X play today?
Favorite 6X play? Give me... This is a slightly tough one. I'm going to go DeAndre Ayton. I like Ayton here against Indiana.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Ayton today. I'm going to go Cade Cunningham. I really like Cade today. I think this is a fantastic spot for him. And I know he's expensive at 8,300, but I think this is a spot he smashes. Let's get weird GPP play of the day. Who do you got?
I think if I'm going weird, man, is Daniel Gafford weird enough? I don't think too many people are going to be on Gafford today, but 5,700. I like where his minutes are when the games are competitive, Stevie. And I think if he gets 29, 30 minutes, could be an upside game for him here.
Yeah, so I originally wrote down Jaden Ivey. The more I think about it, the more I think he's going to be chalkier.
I think he's going to have to be. It's not enough value right now.
So I'll switch it to Dyson Daniels for New Orleans as a Let's Get Weird GPP. Yeah. But I really do like Jaden Ivey today.
Yep.
All right. Prop, or if you're in a state where you can't do some prop betting, talk to us here a little bit about a fantasy pick and play. What do you got for us today?
Well, let me see where if they've got Duren up yet, because he's in of the earlier games. Yeah.
I wrote down to make sure I checked that.
Yeah, but they did. But they gave us Cade, which is why I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, Duren's been dealing with an injury. That's the only thing that makes sense to me is like they're careful with getting him up there.
Give me.
Were you thinking like a rebound or like a point rebound for?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because with him, I mean, he could get 15 rebounds and 15 points. Like it's how it is. Give me. I'm gonna go. I think I'm going to go with the under on this one, Stevie. It's not going to feel good right now, but even though I think this game is competitive, I think there'll be enough rebounding and such around him. And look, he's nuked this the past couple of games. I get it. But give me Joel Embiid at 17.5 rebounds, assists. I want less than that number. Like this won't continue all season. And I think tonight when you've got to deal with AD and deal with LeBron and some of these other guys rebounding, I think his rebound numbers come down, which will affect that total.
All right, I am going to go with Cade Cunningham more than 24.5 points. I just took this on the Hard Rock as well if you're in a betting state. So I like Cade Cunningham to hit his point prop today. Whether you're doing pick'em or if you're doing a prop bet, I think this is a good spot. He's gone over this in back-to-back games and draws another just fantastic, very fast-paced game. He's really excelled in fast-paced games this year. So I'm going to take Cunningham more than 24.5 points. Craig wants you to know the word of the day is compromise. He's 23 years in, and he says, belated happy Turkey Day and congratulations, Chief. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us over there on YouTube. Will, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Negative, man. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for having me on, Stevie, and hopefully we can ride this thing to the money.
All right, let's happen. All right, hope everyone knows a fantastic Monday. We're back Tuesday talking basketball. Have a good one. We'll see you then.